tonight, a rare and sumptuous treat. TV megastars Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie are reunited, back together on screen for the first time in 15 years.
A little bit jittery, a little bit apprehensive. I'm looking forward to it. See the old codger.
You know, when you know someone really, really well, it means you never actually talk about things. So it's perfectly possible that my colleague will tell me something that he's never told me before that will make me go, well, why didn't you say that 30 years ago, you imbecile?
It's 30 years since the boys first met, and they're keen to recount their shared history.
There are a lot of times I want to go back and slap myself.
Well, I would also like to...
Slap me? You could have done.
Pull yourself together, man. You're getting hysterical.
It's true.
And to revel in each other's company.
No one else will...
Pike, ladies and gentlemen, Pike, Exhibit A.
Comedy colleagues for years, best mates, and both now national treasures in their own right, we present 90 minutes in the company of Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, Reunited.
I understand the choice is yours. Sword or pistol?
Sword.
As you wish.
Is the only weapon for a gentleman.
Just so. That means, Mr. Van Hoyle, that you have the pistol. I thank you, sir. Now, gentlemen, when you are both braced and ready, I shall drop...
No, wait a minute.
Who doesn't love Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie?
In fact, in the surveys I've done, exactly 50% of people in Britain would like to have Stephen living next door to them, and the other 50% of them would quite like to have Hugh.
A colossus bestrideth the great industry of biz that we call show.
Highly intelligent and completely ridiculous.
Damn, double damn, and an extra pint of damn for the weekend! Damn!
As a double act, they formed at the Cambridge Footlights, blossomed in TV classics Jeeves and Wooster and Blackadder, and flourished in their own highly influential TV series, A Bit of Fry and Laurie.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jackson!
They're so brilliant.
All right, so other men have got larger plums.
They're so kind of untouchably amazing.
They didn't inspire us at all.
Stephen and Hugh may no longer be comedy partners, but they remain the very best of friends.
Yes, we do. We love each other. And did really pretty much from the beginning, I think.
One of the most fortunate things, really, is that for me as a gay man, is that I never fancied him. Although he's extremely good-looking, which he is, and a lot of women could faint at the sight of him, fortunately, for some reason, that switch was never on with me and Hugh. And it would have been embarrassing if it had been, if you think about it, really.
When was the last time you could use the word homosexual in its proper context? And it's such a lovely word. Oh, it's one of the great words. My word, Jane, I used to say to my wife. The garden's looking very homosexual this morning.
I just delight in the way his brain works.
Since they last appeared on TV together, they've each gone on to become international TV titans in their own right. Stephen is Renaissance man par excellence. If he's not writing bestsellers or acting or directing, he's making documentaries, or even finding time to indulge in more simple pleasures like watching darts.
Well, that's it. It's the treble 20 double four.
216s! Yes!
It's there, so quick! I'm like a pig in Chardonnay, I tell you. I couldn't be happier.
He is a national treasure. We all love him. If something happens to him, we should stuff him and put him in the National Museum. He's brilliant, Steve is.
But since 2003, he's probably best known as the world's most erudite quizmaster.
I think Stephen has that gift. He makes everyone who watches his programme think that they're just, that little bit brighter for having heard what he had to say.
I think he's like a sort of Victorian, benign, philanthropic uncle.
Well, obviously, someone had to lose out. Hugh Laurie, what happened to him?
Well, amazingly enough, he's gone from spoofing global icons to becoming one himself. as the most watched TV star in the world, Dr. Gregory House.
I think he really did want to be, Clint Eastwood, and now he kind of is.
Please, Mr. Music, will you play?
But for all their phenomenal solo success, it's when they're together and bounce off each other that the fun really starts.
Do you know what I'd really just like, in a really sad, sort of nostalgic sort of way, I would just like to see them on telly together. I'd just like to see them next to each other again. Oh, I'll do it on this, see it on this, won't I?
Yes, you certainly will. Chatting, laughing and generally mucking about. Fry and Laurie, Reunited.
Oh, he's not lost it.
Reunion day is upon us, and Stephen and Hugh are up with the dawn chorus to be whisked off to a mysterious but fittingly magnificent location.
Well, first of all, you very sweetly said, sorry, it's so early at 7 o'clock. Well, 7 o'clock for Americans isn't early. They work so ridiculously hard. So that's it. I go to work at 5 in the morning in a sort of windowless hangar for about 15 hours, and then I go home. That's about it. Not much of a story, really, is it? I need to embellish that somehow. I need to jazz that one up. Ask me that again in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, it's crazy.
One of the problems of being in television is that you have the evidence before your eyes that you were once younger and that you are now older. And 1 minute passes and then another minute, and if it keeps up at that rate, which it tends to do, suddenly 30 years have gone by, and it's faintly bewildering and a little bit upsetting, but rather charming too. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how this day develops as we chatter.
I have one big umbrella question, and that is, what the hell were you thinking? That'll set me on the right track to unearthing the real Stephen Fry. I just want to make it clear, though, to the readers and editors of the Daily Telegraph that I don't normally go to work in a chauffeur-driven BMW.
Welcome.
Their journeys may have ended, but ours have just begun, as Stephen and Hugh prepare to lift the lid on their personal stories.
So how did we meet them?
We met, as you well know, in a brothel in Durham. I think I made a girl laugh in a bar. So many stories start that way.
Oh dear, I didn't expect to get emotional remembering it, but it is, and because everything depended on it. I wouldn't have met Hugh. I wouldn't be sitting here now, I'm pretty sure.
Welcome back to Fry and Laurie Reunited, Gold's exclusive get-together of two of TV's brightest and biggest stars, as you've never seen them before.
Why isn't there someone around saying, don't do that,
We
Stephen?
never had that person.
We
never had that person, and I'm angry.
The tale of Fry and Laurie begins in Hampstead with the birth of baby Stephen in 1957, followed 2 years later by the arrival of baby Hugh in Oxford. Both boys attended boarding schools. Stephen went to Uppingham, where he was cited as being an asthmatic near genius, and Hugh attended Eton, where, as a teenager, he developed a passion for motorbikes and Monty Python.
Pythons were just immense.
Yes, gangs of old ladies attacking defenseless, fit young men.
To see a new Python show, that was a pretty great pleasure. But in a strange kind of way, an even greater pleasure was to buy the records and sit around with a group of friends and just play those sketches over and over and over again until you knew every breath. You know, whenever they would end a sketch with, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm going to have to shoot you. You could actually hear, if you listen carefully, which I did, you can hear the fuse burning on the cracker they used to make the gunshot sound. You hear a sort of bang. That's how well I got to know it.
I had a very stormy and deranged childhood and adolescence, which involved the expulsion from a number of schools, some of them expensive, and decreasing in expense as the despair increased. Eventually I kind of ran away, I suppose is the only way I can put it. I was 17 and got myself into a dear old fix with credit cards and ended up in prison. So the idea of me going to university at that point was as remote as could be, but it is darkest just before the dawn, as they like to say, and I suppose hitting rock bottom was probably what I needed to do.
It was 1975 when Stephen, aged 18, served 3 months in prison for credit card fraud. Meanwhile, a 16-year-old Hugh was considering a career on the right side of the law, on the other side of the world, as a policeman.
The Hong Kong police, they were looking for good men and true to go and serve in the colony, and I suddenly fixed on this romantic idea of myself in a duffel coat and maybe short trousers. And I'd smoke a pipe and I'd be rather acerbic, but ultimately I'd have a heart of gold and I'd unite young lovers on the bridge or whatever it might be. And I got the brochures, and sure enough, the uniform was very smart. It was all shaping up well. And in actual fact, now I slightly regret not taking that course. I'll tell you why. 2001, was it? All those blokes who would have been in my position in the Hong Kong retired full pension at 35.
Stephen emerged from jail after 3 months a reformed man and enrolled in sixth form college, determined to gain a place at Cambridge.
I took the Cambridge entrance exam, and then there's the terrible period of waiting. And of course, I lived deep in the country, and the post didn't come till about 10:30 in the morning, which in those days was rare. Nowadays, of course, you're lucky to get a post at 3 in the afternoon. But after a week of waiting, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I said to my mother, I said, look, I'm going to go into Norwich. At lunchtime, I will be in, there's this coffee shop, it no longer exists in Norwich, which rejoices in the name Just John's Delicatique. So I went in at lunchtime and was, sipping my frothy coffee, and Just John himself came down and said, there's a phone for you, Steve. And it was my mother, and she said, darling. I said, oh, the post. Oh, God, what? Have you opened it? She said, no, there's no post. I said, you can't call me up when there's no post. And the whole point, she said, no, it's a telegram. I said, telegram? Yes, I'll read it to you. Congratulations, awarded scholarship, Queen's College, senior tutor. I said, what? Read that again. I was crying, remembering it. So ridiculous. But it was such a turnaround from, this appalling thing. And my mother, of course, was bursting into tears because she was so proud and relieved after being such a nightmare child. It was a good moment. Anyway, oh dear, I didn't expect to get emotional remembering it, but it is. And because everything depended on it, I wouldn't have met Hugh. I wouldn't be sitting here now, I'm pretty sure. Cambridge is a remarkably beautiful town in its own right. It's got these incredible medieval colleges and on the river. It's just one of the most lyrical, ravishing sites architecturally in the world. And it's 800 years old, and many people who are heroes have passed through it. Wordsworth, Milton, Isaac Newton, Darwin. The list goes on and on and on.
Hugh had already been at Cambridge for a year by the time Stephen arrived in 1979, and while Stephen was determined to follow a dry life of books and learning, Hugh was dreaming of making a big splash in the world of rowing.
My father, who I admired hugely and tried to emulate in all kinds of ways, was a very remarkable athlete. He'd won a gold medal in the 1948 Olympics as an oarsman. And he'd gone to Cambridge. In that world, in the world of rowing, he was a bit of a superstar. And I actually imagined myself going on to row in the Olympics would have been my goal.
But Hugh had to forgo his Olympic dreams at the tender age of 20 after a debilitating bout of glandular fever. Instead, he decided to join the Cambridge Footlights. For all its scientists and poets, the most famous Cambridge graduates of recent times have been the alumni of the Footlights Review. a veritable who's who of British comedy, including Python's Goodies.